Hi everyone, it's Rachel back with the Shades of Orange, and if you weren't aware, February is the month to celebrate women in horror, so I thought I should probably do a video on the topic. And I know that for those of you that are trying to read books by female authors, there are definitely other lists out there, and a lot of them will reference really popular female authors like Mary Shelley or Shirley Jackson, or maybe if it's more of a contemporary list, they'll mention someone like Anya Alborn. And don't get me wrong, I definitely respect all of those authors, but in my opinion, there are so many other female authors that are writing in the genre that just don't get enough attention. And I really wanted to create a video to change that. So, I mean, no disrespect to the authors I'm going to be talking about, but I'm going to give you 5 female authors that write horror that, in my opinion, are a little bit underhyped, at least in my corner of the book internet. So these are authors that just don't get talked about a lot, even on my channel. So these aren't necessarily my top favorite female authors of all time, but simply authors that I've enjoyed that, other than my review videos, just don't get brought up enough. And I want to change that. So if you're looking to read some female-written horror and are looking for something a little bit different, something that you're not going to find on a BuzzFeed list, hopefully I can help you out here. All that being said, let's get into the actual books. Now, I thought it would make sense to break up this list by subgenre, so if you, like me, are obsessed with possession stories, I would recommend Soros Point by Danielle DeVor. And this, of course, is a possession story that is about an ex-priest who, along with a pagan goddess, are tasked with helping one of his old friends who believes that his daughter might be possessed. And what I like so much about this possession story is that it appeals to people that don't necessarily like that Catholic background that tends to be brought in when you're talking exorcisms. So if you're someone that doesn't really like that religious angle but want to try out the subgenre or just read something quite different, this one is great. It is the start of a series, and I really mean to keep going with it because I did enjoy this first book. It was creepy and fun, and I just flew through it. So Danielle DeVor is definitely someone that is worth checking out. Now, if you want to talk about vampire fiction, which is pretty iconic when it comes to horror, I have to recommend Nightface by Lydia P Ver. Admittedly, vampire fiction isn't really my thing, but if you like vampires and want some true horror, not the cute urban fantasy style, then this is a great book to check out. It involves a vampire who has lost their memory until they meet a girl, and slowly things start to come together. And what I remember about this one when I read it was that it was dark and brutal and gritty. All the things that you want from vampire fiction, and I promise none of these vampires are going to sparkle in the sun. So if you want some vampire fiction, Lydia P Ver is definitely a great one to check out. She's also written some short fiction, which I have been meaning to read for a really long time, and I really should change that soon. Now, if you enjoy horror that is centered around a small town, I would recommend Clowders by Vanessa Morgan, which is about a town that is obsessed with cats. It is described as a European cat haven, and so the story involves a family that move there and take along their cat. The father works as a veterinarian. However, they are not aware that there is an entity that watches over this town, and if anyone accidentally kills a cat, 9 human lives must be taken. And from the synopsis, admittedly, when I picked up this book, I thought it was going to be really goofy and satirical, but it actually read very serious and was just a really good story. So it has really good characters and all of that. And I would definitely like to read more by Vanessa Morgan because I just thought she was a really good writer who took a pretty crazy concept and just turned it into a really good story. Now, if you enjoy a creepy toy story, I have to recommend the novella of The Bear That Wouldn't Leave by J.H. Moncrief. And this is a story of a young boy who has recently lost his father. His mother has remarried, and his stepfather has given him a bear. However, he just does not like this bear. He tries to get rid of it, but it just doesn't go away. And of course, strange things start to happen around the house, and the boy believes that the bear is at fault, but the parents don't necessarily think so and just think that he's making excuses. I'm a huge fan of that trope where you don't necessarily know if something is actually happening or if something is just in the boy's head. And I just like when you have a child narrator that you always get that element of imagination that comes in that just makes the horror a little bit more ambiguous. So that was definitely a fun one to check out for anyone who enjoys some creepy teddy bears. And finally, for something quite different, if you want to try out some horror poetry, I would recommend I Am Not Your Final Girl by Claire C. Holland. I don't think I've actually reviewed this book on my channel yet, but that is definitely coming. But if you want to read some poetry, even if you're not a poetry person, because trust me, I am not usually into that subgenre, but when it comes to horror, she does it right. These stories are a collection of little poems that are taken from iconic movies and are basically written from the perspective of the women that survive until the end and are the supposed final girls. Even though I haven't watched all of the movies that are referenced, the stories were just feminist and just amazing and powerful, and I definitely recommend them. So if you want some very feminist horror to read this month, I would definitely recommend it. And I really hope that Claire C. Holland writes more because I think that she has an incredible voice and I just really enjoyed this one. So that is it for this video. I would love to know how I did. Have you read any of these female authors before? Are they as underhyped as I think they are? And again, I just want to give them more attention because I think that there are so many great voices out there and we need to make sure that we're acknowledging the fact that there are a lot of women writing a lot of different stories within the horror subgenres, and I just really enjoy reading horror that is written from a female perspective. As well, help me out. I would love for your recommendations for a female horror author that you feel like is underhyped, underappreciated, or a little bit unknown. I am always looking for recommendations, especially when it comes to female horror authors. So I would love to read some of your favorites this month. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.